problem, right? So let's put the product manager solve problems, right? Everything else is a byproduct, right? Or is the other part of this, right? It's not a core task, right? So let's say, for example, your product manager is starting on a new problem, right? So then his typical day starts with understanding what the problem is, right? So it might start with talking to users, understanding data, churning out data, understanding what are the problems, forming hypotheses, right?
Good evening, everyone. I am Udit Gupta. Welcomes you all to another series of the podcast powered by the GrowJunction. Today we have Mr. Akhil Reddy as our special guest who will be addressing everyone. And he has done his MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur and is currently serving as a senior product manager at Meesho. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi Udit, hi everyone.
Sir, how was your day till now? How it has been?
I'm good, I'm good. It's good. It's good till now. You say, how about you?
Absolutely fine, sir.
Great.
So let us just start with the questions, and I'll be starting with a very
Sure.
generic question, which we as an MBA aspirant have all gone throughout our journey of 2 years. So, sir, can you just tell us something about yourself? Can you let all of us go through your journey right from your school days till now, how it has been?
Okay, sure. Right. So I'll just go in a reverse chronological order, right? So that it's easier to understand how my journey has been. Right. So currently I'm a senior product manager at Meesho and I take care of acquisition at Meesho. Right. So everything that's related to right from paid performance marketing, brand campaigns, referrals, product lead growth, influencer marketing, affiliate marketing. So these are some things that I take care at Meesho from a product point of view. Right. And before Meesho, I was with Awesome Jobs, which was into blue collar hiring, which was acquired by OLX Group. Right. So before that, I was part of Mahindra's leadership program, which is called GMC, which is Group Management Cadre. Right. So as a part of this role, I could experience multiple companies and multiple roles, right, in a generalist role. Right? So I started my pre-MBA, post-MBA career as a sales and marketing manager at Mahindra First Trust, which is a part of Mahindra Group. Right. So from there, I moved on to product manager at Mahindra First Trust. Right? So at that point of time is where I really loved getting into product and everything. And that's how I've continued my journey into product. And so before Mahindra again, right, as you told, I did my MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur, majored in marketing and strategy. Before that, I worked with Infosys Technologies, right, for almost 2 years, where I was a business intelligence developer working mostly into analytics domain. And I did my engineering from NIT Raipur into electronics and telecommunication. So that's brief professional career of me.
Great, good to know, sir. So, sir, like as you have done your MBA from one of the top B schools of our country, XLRI Jamshedpur. So, can you share your 2 year MBA experience there, your journey there, like what you developed, how you grew, and can you just throw some light on that?
Sure, definitely, right? I mean, as you rightly told, MBA is one of the best schools in India. So with that comes a great pedigree, right? So the most important thing that the college provides, right, apart from education, finance, marketing, etc., is your peer network, right, and the kind of colleagues that you have and everything. Right? So right from school, college, you might be the toppers over your schools and colleges, right? But once you are in such a B school, that's when you realize, okay, I mean, you are very small, right? And with your such a great peers everywhere, right? So you know what the real world is out there, right? And you learn a lot from your peers, right? More than from your faculty, college, etc. Right? And it's that place, right, where you understand a lot of things which you were not aware of before, like product management, entrepreneurship, right? And what is marketing, what is finance, right? You first time get exposed to such things that are available to you in the MBA schools. Right? So if you ask me what I learned the most, I learned the most whatever my learning was mostly from my peers, right? And to understand, okay, and those, right? So once you even get out of your MBA colleges, right, you know what your peers are doing, right? And you know, okay, there is an opportunity over there. Like for example, I got into product, right? And it might be triple luck or something else. Now my peers are in easy access to me, where I say, can what if I get them into product or explain them what's product is, right? Similarly, if I want to get into consult, IB, wherever I want to go, right? I have an easy access of my colleagues already present over there. That gives me an added advantage in terms of referrals, or in terms of understanding company culture, or in terms of understanding what is the role, etc. So, right, the information asymmetry, right, that exists, right, it does not exist for a good B schools or a top colleges because they have friends and colleagues present across all these sectors, right? So if you ask me, that's the biggest advantage you get out of a B school. And of course, right, once you are in a B school, that you get access to great companies, right, where you can get into them directly, right, from college, which might have been very difficult if you have to apply as a fresher from outside, right? So again, right, this is a additional thing that you get. Apart from that, of course, the professors at college, right, will tell you, right, will teach you more practical, right? Till engineering, right, if we might be more theoretical, right, reading what's in the books and everything. Right? But once in these schools, what you learn is more practical, what how it happens, right? And the professors, the guest lectures that happen are the actually industry veterans, not some just teachers who just teach what is in the book. Right? So you are prepared for the real world, right? Better, right, over here than some other place. And the most important thing is like case studies, right? When you do case studies, you learn group work, you learn actual business scenarios, you get access to the top management of the company directly, right? You get a lot of interaction with them. Right? So there are a lot of things that a B school offers you apart from core academics. I mean, if you ask me, academics plays only 20 to 30% of what an MBA school teaches you. The other things that I've mentioned actually teaches you 70% of what you can take out of an MBA college.
So, sir, like just now you mentioned about the case studies. Now will be my next question based on that only. Like I was going through your LinkedIn profile and I've seen that you have done a lot of case study competitions. Like, you were the part and you were even winner in some of them. So how this thing developed you and why is it essential to be the part of such case study competitions? How they help in growing in? Can you just explain on that?
Sure, right. So case studies, so like multiple people do case studies for multiple different reasons, right? So anyone need not have a single reason to do case studies at B school, right? And also similarly, case studies also serves you multiple purposes, right? One major reason why most of the people do case studies is to get a internship, right? So you do really good in case studies, you get a pre-placement interview, right? And if you are good in interviews, you get a PPO. So essentially, case studies are an easy route, right, to get an offer from that company. Right? So that's one of the main reasons people do case studies. Second reason is there are people who do case studies for money. Right? I mean, frankly speaking, right? I mean, in MBA college, right, even any money is like a pocket money, right? It's good to have, right? So there are people who do it. I mean, who just get fun out of winning money and just are doing it. The third kind of people are people who love problem solving, right? So, and each case study will give you chance to do that problem solving, right? And you get to learn a lot, right? Because so like you can do a lot of problems. So like you can just say, okay, I want to improve Meesho, right? And you can pick it on your own and you solve it on your own. But unless you present it to folks who are actually presenting in, you're actually in Meesho, and they give you feedback, right? Then there is no two-way learning. It's just that your thoughts you put it on a paper. Right? Now, case studies gives you that amazing platform to interact and what you call narrow down your ideas or make your ideas crisper, right? And train you to say, okay, this is not the way to think, this is the way to think, right? So case studies gives you that platform. And other thing is like it's just for fun, right? You have like 4 friends sitting together working on a case study, right? So there are multiple reasons that people do, right? For me, it's mostly 2, 3, and 4, right? Because in second year, I already had a PPO from Mahindra. So getting an interview was not my reason, right? I really love case studies, right? Because it's really so my team, right? At Excel, right? We are 4 of us, right? Who used to work on all case studies together, right? So it's really fun working on each of us together, right? And everyone have their own strengths, weaknesses. So we really complement each other, right? In becoming that group. So you also learn how to perform in a group, right? And with that, my main study was if we win a case study, we get to travel. Like for example, for HUL, we were sponsored to travel to Mumbai, right? It's a trip, right? And then for when we won PepsiCo, we get to go to Kolkata to meet the PepsiCo present at that point of time. Right? So I really like these kind of things, right? To travel, to meet people, to solve problems, right? So these are the reasons that I absolutely love doing case studies, right? And you can choose any one of the reasons, right? Why do you want to solve case studies?
Good to hear, sir, and quite relatable as well. Like even I'm doing my MBA right now and part of several case study competitions. So it genuinely helps a lot. Like I have seen
Good.
in shaping up skills.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I mean, it's fun, right? I mean, your competition is also sometimes fun.
and coming to my next question, so it would be based on the certifications like you've done. You've done a lot of certifications, which I have seen. So is it necessary to do certifications or what you feel like you can gather knowledge from YouTube also? We have various
No,
platforms.
I I don't. I don't think certifications are necessary, right? But right, so I mean, like, it depends what you're doing. Right? Certificate. So if you think, hey, I do certifications, do I get a interview shortlist? I do not believe in that, right? Because what you call just by what you call certifications in this point, right? If you look at most of the certifications, they are not difficult to crack, right? So generally, they do not become a very good filtering criteria. If you say, right, so I do not say the certifications are a good filtering criteria, but right, once you get an interview or you are working on some problem, right, certification more than certification, what you have learned during that course, that is actually really important. Right? So if you look at my certifications, those are not random things. Right? For example, when I was working, then I had to work on a AML project, right, in my previous organization, right, where I have to work on search recommendations, right? I have absolutely no idea how AI or ML works, right? So that's when I took time out to read about AI and ML, right? So now that is not helping me what you call get something. It just started helping me do my job better, right? So as a so again, like just reading also might not be structured everywhere. You do not get those structured thing elsewhere, but most of the courses, right? Certification courses are structured really well, right? And they also have additional motivation. Ki, okay, you complete this course, and you get a certification, right? So that's how my motivation has been. Right? I wanted to learn something that can help in my job perform better, right? And the structured way of things that I got is through certifications, and it's also kind of a motivation to say, okay, I complete this, I get a certification, which I can then put on LinkedIn, right? It's kind of a motivation factor that makes you complete the entire thing, right? That's how I see the entire certification thing, right? More than certification of putting it out there, what the content is, right? And did you understand that content? Is it relevant to what you are currently doing? Right? That matters a lot, right? If you look at my certifications, most of them are regarding AIML and Python. Right? That's because there was a big project that I was leading on recommendations where I have a good understanding. Again, I could have easily done that project without having any understanding because I have an amazing data science team, amazing tech team, right? Who could have helped me out overall to do that. Right? But having good understanding always tells you, right, are you going in the right direction or not? Right? The other thing is now currently I did acquisition, what you call it, Meesho. Right? Gives that makes me it's important for me to understand Google Analytics, performance marketing, Google Ads. Right. So this is where I really work currently. Right. So that's when I took okay, these are the things that I need to understand. Right? I moved to certifications and I read the course. The certification is just a byproduct of that.
Got it, sir. But just I have one point here. Like being a fresher myself, like if I want to pursue my majors in analytics, and like I'm currently working on R, Python, also on SQL and Excel ka advanced course. So what I feel is that it would help me in getting some sort of light project or some sort of internship. Then I can build on. Like it is very beginning of my career. So in the beginning, do these certifications help or not for a fresher who's just gonna enter the corporate world?
Right. So see, certifications definitely sure. So certifications definitely help you, right? Might being what you call catching the eye of a recruiter, right? So that's the only thing that I would say certifications help you, right? Because you might do 100 certifications. If in the interview you do not perform it, you won't be selected, right? You do just single certification, right? You perform really good in interview, you get selected. You do zero certifications, you somehow get an interview call, you do good, you still get selected. Right? So certifications, in my opinion, is just an eye-catching thing for a recruiter, right, to get it. So more than certifications, right? Well, I do shots. Again, it might differ from, let's say, for example, so again, right, I would actually, instead of having a blanket discussion on certifications, I would actually break down into two things, right? So I would say one which are very practical things and one which are very theoretical, right? So, but practical, let's say, for example, product management, right? In a course, in a career like product management, certification is not that important compared to your projects or anything because there is nothing that you can learn through certifications. Right? It's all about the critical thinking ability, and it's just not through certifications. You can just understand structured way of what product management is, but it cannot imbibe you with the product management thinking. Right? So there, I would not say certifications might be just an eye catching, but not really important. But if you look at other things, like for example, R, as you rightly told, it is more theoretical, right? And you do a certification that tells you, hey, he has learned something, right? And let's say data science. So these are on which there are more theoretical, right? And where you can have a definitive learning through certifications. I think yes, certifications might be valid. At least again, I would again still say it only till HR, like a recruiter eye catching, right? And after it's totally depend on your thinking, your technical knowledge, your critical thinking, your awareness, etc.
Got it, sir. Surely relatable. Like, even companies come for the product management role in our colleges, they won't look for a person who has done a product management certification, but they would look for a person who has some relevant experience in that field or knows how things work or are aware of the job role which is given to them. Like how much they know about the daily activities of the product manager. So here comes my next question. So what generally happens in a regular day of a product manager? Like what things a product manager has to go through in his daily routine?
Right. So it's totally different. So there is no single day. Right? It might be different days. Right? We can say there are 4 to 5 different kinds of days a product manager generally has. Right? So for example, if he is starting on a very new problem, right? So let's put the product manager solve problems, right? Everything else is a byproduct, right? Or is the other part of this, right? It's not a core task, right? So let's say, for example, your product manager is starting on a new problem, right? So then this typical day starts with understanding what the problem is, right? So it might start with talking to users, understanding data, churning out data, understanding what are the problems, forming hypotheses, right? What the product manager thinks the problems are. Right? So generally this phase of problem solving identification takes around 2 to 3 weeks, right? Depending on what the problem is. Right? Now post this, right? Once this phase is completed for the problem solving, right? Next comes the solution phase, right? Along with this solution mostly involves design folks, right? So now you work along with the design folks to understand, to put out, to understand for that problem, right? So again, I'll take one more example of my entire project that I built, so that gives you a better example of how the day-to-day activities of a product manager looks like. Right, so then next, it comes a lot of understanding with design team, right? To understand, okay, how do we solve the problem, right? This is a problem. This is what will fix it the problem. Now, how do I make it into a user flow, right? That mostly happens with the design folks, right? Generally, this takes around 1 to 2 weeks, right? And then comes the most important, actually the only task of product manager is to write a PRD, right? Which is a product requirements document, where he writes everything, right? What is the problem that you are solving? What is the objective of the problem? What is the impact? Right? If we solve this problem, how much impact we are expecting? And then writes a detailed notes of what the product should look like. Right? And this document is generally written for tech folks, right? So that tech knows what to build. Right? And also you use this document for discussions with the business folks and everything, others as well. Right? Now once you write a PRD, then you have a discussion with the tech team, saying, hey, these are the things that I want to build. Right? Then discussion happen with tech team. Is it feasible? Is there any better way to do it? What are the alternatives, etc. Once we close on it, then comes the other phase, which is kind of project management, right? Talking to tech team, understand team, have they finished building it? Are there any problems, right, etc. Now, once the product is built, right, you do a UAT or a QA and UAT, and then you launch it, right? And generally, every feature goes to an A/B experimentation. Right? So in A/B experiment, you give it only to, you launch the feature to some users, right? Experiment, you do a lot of experimentation to understand, is your feature that you have launched, that you are thought will solve a specific problem, is it solving or not, right? If it is not solving, then you do the entire process again. You go back to problem solving, understand why is it not working, then you solve. If it is working, right, then what you do is you stop the experiment and then you scale the feature to everyone. Then you start doing everything. Then you again pick a new problem. The entire cycle keeps on happening. So this is how the life cycle of a product manager happens. Right? While this looks simple, right? I mean, this looks very linear. Many times it happens that you are doing multiple things together. Like you are working on one problem statement, and the other problem or experimentation might be in progress, right? And the other problem statement might be in progress. Right? So you might be doing multiple things together, but during the time of problem solving, product manager generally dedicates his time, 90% of his time to just think about user, think about problem, do a good problem discovery, because everything else is the easier part. Problem discovery is the most difficult part that a product manager has to do.
Yes, so like it's about, we all say that it's about asking right questions first. Then we'll get the answers.
Yes, yes.
Problem problem
Correct.
statement
I mean,
is the thing.
that's why if you look at, yes, if you look at the any interview that a product manager undergoes, right, no one cares about the solution. Right? I never even listen to the solution. Right? What matters the most is, are you asking the right questions? Are you thinking it properly? Are you doing a structured thinking so that you are discovering the right problem? Right? That's the most important thing, right? Solution is something that anyone can do. Right? If I say, hey, let's say for example, let's think, hey, I'm unable to click here, right? If someone says, hey, okay, make the button big, make the button this thing, right? So giving a solution is easier compared to how do I even identify that users are having that problem that they're unable to click on the button or they're unable to understand it. So that forms 80% of a good product manager's task compared to actually coming up with great solutions.
Got it. So what skills, in your opinion, like just you mentioned about that asking right questions, other than that, what skills are very important for an individual who wants to pursue his career in product management?
Right. So again, it depends on what you call type to type. Right. So there are multiple types of product managers. Right. So there are tech PMs, there are business PMs, there are platform PMs, there are data PMs. Right. So while each of what you call maybe a business PM might be a generalist role, while others might be slightly what you call specific role. At the core, right? What's more important is what you call problem solving skills, right? So you should be able to identify a problem and solve them. So that's the most important task. Right? Now, how do you develop that? What are the things that we generally look for to do this? Right? Most important thing is hunger to solve things or hunger to learn new things, right? The person who keep on asking questions why, who are inquisitive, right? Saying why not this, why this, why not this, right? So these are the people who generally excel at PM, right? Because they do not stop at something. They go deep, they dig deep to find out the answer. So these are the ones who found out the core problems, right? So you can improve them. Anyone can improve numbers, right? The person who does it at the root, right, will do it with a very, very simple list and that's a long-term solve. And so these are the persons who generally go on to become great PMs. Right? You can solve superficially any problem, right? But that's a short-term fix. Right now, the hunger to solve problems, right? A hunger to learn new things, attitude, right? You always want to have that growth and entrepreneurial mindset. That you want to do new things. You are risky. You do not mind taking risks, right? So these are the people who generally what we call are preferred in product management, right? And if you look at other things, right? For example, so these are the major skills that we generally look for, right? Especially in freshers when we do not can't expect their previous product management experience.
I can relate with that, sir. And so sometimes it is very difficult for a fresher to get directly into the product management role if he or she is not from a tier 1B school or doesn't have any relevant experience in that field. So, what pathway should you recommend to a fresher who's not from a tier 1B school and doesn't have any relevant experience if he or she is unable to get directly into product, but still any learning path would you which you would recommend?
Sure. Right? So there are So, right, every job, right, not just product management, if you are unable to get into that, there are always the closer circles to it. Right? Let's say, for example, take product management, it's in the center, then consulting, right, product analyst, business analyst, project management, program management. Right? So, these are some things that are near to product management. You can get into any of these, right? So, that's one path you have, right? The second path, right, that you can also do is build an industry expertise. Right? Again, this might not work for everyone, but I've seen multiple people doing this. Let's say, what do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, you are a finance manager at HDFC Bank, right? So you are built a finance acumen, right? You are very good at finance, right? Then, if you're really interested in product, you might get a chance to be a PM at a fintech company, at a new age fintech company. You might not be a business PM directly, but you might be an expertise PM over there. Right? Then you can slowly transition. Right? Once you are into the system, and you can get into over there. Right? So generally there are two ways I have seen people do that. Right? One thing is people get again, right. So and if you ask me, like three ways. Right? First way is getting into PM, which are very new companies, right, which do not put any high bar like Amazon or Flipkart or Meesho does, right? That you have to be in Taiwan, you have this experience. Very new companies which have tremendous scope to grow, right? So you can target such companies where the entry is easier, but learning is very high. Like even once you get into this into PM directly, then you can also get into other companies into PM where you actually want to get into. Right? Or sometimes if everything works out well, you need not even go out. Right? The company itself can become huge to grow very much along with the company. That's one way. Second way is getting into big companies in an affiliate role, like product analyst. Not that these are easy, right? But these might be slightly easier compared to PA. And you get into PA, product analyst. So product analyst is very adjacent to product management. Right? Nowadays, we are virtual companies are also opening a role called as product ops associate, right? So this is one more role that what you call people can try and not very much entry barrier. But product ops associates, product analysts are very close to PMs. They almost do the work that an APMs do. Right? So you have that great learning experience and given a chance, right? You might be the first ones to be considered if there is an APM role available. Right? Instead of companies, also it is difficult for companies to get APMs and PMs outside, right? So PS and POs are the ones that are generally what you call moved to APMs. Right? That's other way that you can look into. And the third way that I told is maybe build some industry expertise, but this might be a long-term shot. It's a long-term shot. You get build industry expertise in something, then you move on to product management for something. Right? This expertise could be industry expertise or role expertise. Like say, for example, you become expert in supply chain, right? Then right you have built, let's say you work with let's say delivery, right? Or you work with Blue Dot as a supply chain manager, managing for a few years, right? Like 2-3 years, you gain an expertise in it. Right? You might be open to a supply PM, right? The person is F&D PM in e-commerce companies, right? Because supply chain is most of it learn to knowledge, right? Compared to other roles, right? So this is how you can look into it and see what is it that fits you well, what is it that you want to do, and you can choose one of these paths.
Great, sir. So that answers all of your questions. So thanks, sir, for being our guest today. Like it was a great honor hosting you, and I hope
Great.
you would have also liked it.
Same.
Thank you so much.